Hey guys, and welcome to another segment of Hacking Modding Monday News and Info Tuesday edition. Too much went down yesterday for me to be able to do this segment, but here we are today with part one. We're going to cover the Sony systems, some emulation, and our top 10 pirated movies of the week. And then tomorrow we'll continue with the Nintendo systems and some other miscellaneous stuff, anything that we didn't cover here today. For those who are new to these segments, make sure that you look down in the description for a brief summary about what they are all about. But very briefly, I basically just go over and highlight and cover some of the things that I think you might find interesting, useful, helpful, or informative in the hacking, modding, homebrew, and pirate scenes. Anyway, a lot went down this past week and continues to go down regarding the Switch mod chips. Make sure you look at my recent videos for more info on that. Let's go ahead and let's get started with this week's segment. All right, and we begin with the PS3, starting with an update to WebMan Mod. I talked about this in a little video I put out yesterday. Now, apparently, WebMan Mod has been updated a few times this month in May 2020. And for the past couple of weeks, I was a little bit confused because it would move up over at PS3 Brology as though it received a new update, but the version number never went up. Well, apparently it is getting updated. It's just for some reason the developer doesn't bump up the numbers anymore. But you can see here just in the month of May, check out all the improvements and fixes and things like that that have been done. They are quite impressive. And this doesn't even cover everything. For example, in this latest one that just recently came out over at PSX Place, it states that you can play games off of an external hard drive, but that hard drive can now be in any format, including the new exFAT format that they've adapted over to play and for use on your modded PS3, which is great, among many other things. So for sure, if you use WebMan Mod, you want to check out and install this latest update because there's a lot going on here. Many of these things here that you see actually already come with WebMan Mod. If you want the whole complete package, make sure you grab the WebMan Mod installer PKG from here and just update your current one. And if you're new to this, then just go ahead and install it from here. By the way, when people install WebMan Mod, sometimes you'll notice that your fan runs loud. That's because the dynamic fan control is by default enabled. Just uncheck the box. Make sure the syscon box is checked, scroll down, click on save, and then reboot your system, and you'll be good to go. And next up for the PS3 is this N64 emulator, which is a port of Wii 64. And before you get excited, let me let you know, this is a proof of concept. This thing is extremely broken. Most of the games do not work at all. It has terrible audio and it is extremely rough. So before we start saying that there's N64 emulation on a PS3, technically there is in name only, but there really isn't because this is just not playable. So it has surfaced because apparently it's starting to get worked on. There is a download link down at the bottom, but again, this is something that's really rough, and unless you were going to be someone who was actually going to help work on this, I wouldn't even bother trying it out. There's other better solutions to get your N64 fixed. And on that note, some N64 emulators have been popping up across different platforms recently in the past few weeks or whatever, a couple of months on like Vita and 3DS and stuff. Keep in mind, all of these are still relatively new. You know, they're still relatively broken. They need a lot of work before, you know, they get to the level of hopefully SNES and Genesis and things like that. So let's just keep our fingers crossed and let's hope that it gets to that point. But right now, on many of these platforms, N64 emulation is still very rough, especially when you look at the entire library of games. So yeah, keep that in mind. Let's move on. And next up on the PS4 and Xbox One scenes, And And now we move on to a scene that's more active and more rewarding to its users, and that is the Vita scene, starting with the Auto Plugin version 2 update. This one now 1.07. I've talked about this before in the past. This is a tool that allows you to install and uninstall various plugins with just one click. You can come here, check out the various tabs. There's the updates tabs there. You can get additional information and instruction from here. You can come here to the plugins and see all the plugins that work with this. And every now and then they keep adding more. When you're ready to snag the file, make sure you come down here to the bottom and grab that version 107 download link. And next we have BGFTP. This is a background FTP server for your modded Vita. This one is great because it works in the background, as the name states. You can use it even when you're playing a game. You can pretty much use it simultaneous with any game, including enlarged memory mode games. This even works in sleep mode. It runs on the system reserved core, so performance in games, it's not affected. It shows you here how to use it. The instructions are very simple and straightforward. When you go over to the releases page, you can see what they did in this update. Basically just some overall improvements. They added a network connection check before the launch, and your VPK is right there. Next, we have an update to Datalist X64. This is on version 0.3. This is an N64 emulator that's fairly new to the Vita scene. It came out, I believe, earlier this month, and this is the third update. As I mentioned earlier in the video, this is fairly brand new, so don't expect it to work on the level of like an NES or a SNES or a Sega Genesis emulator. It's nowhere near that, but the good thing is that they are working diligently to improve it and make it better, and the work is ongoing. You can check out the changelog here with this latest release and just see how hard they have been working at it. But of course, it still has a way to go. There is a compatibility log link down at list down at the bottom, and when you click on it, there's 164 games that have been tested. When you click on the playable link, around 36% of those 164 are playable, so about 1 out of every 3, and you can check out the list here. But again, remember that even though these games can be played from start to finish, it does say with playable performance, and your criteria for what is considered to be playable may vary from theirs. So if you want to try it out, go ahead and see how you like it. And up next, we leave the world of Vita and we move on to emulation, starting with Cemu, which is the Wii U emulator for your PC. Absolutely, hands down, the best one. We've talked about it before, but this one gets some really big, impressive updates. As usual, you can come here, snag the download, check the changelog so you can see more specifically what those updates are. But with this one, I'm going to also include this video here. So a lot of these updates revolve around improvements made to the Vulkan feature of the emulator. This video is around 12 minutes long, and this guy does an excellent job of explaining these upgrades, and the games look absolutely fantastic as well. So if you already use this and you meet the guidelines to take advantage of the upgrades, make sure that you do, because it's definitely well worth it. The games just look overall outstanding, and I can't wait to upgrade my version. And next up, we have an update to this, which I think is pronounced Mikage or Mikage. Either way, it's a 3DS emulator for Android. I didn't even know this thing existed. Now, again, this is also fairly new. I think it's been around for like a year or two. It's something that's a work in progress, but apparently some games can work fairly well, albeit with just a little bit of dropped frame rates here and there. Now recently they were also able to achieve almost perfect game visuals on Super Mario 3D Land. So yeah, this is pretty interesting, something I'm going to keep my eye on for sure, and I have a few Android devices laying around, so this is going to get slapped onto a tablet tonight. And next up, we have an update to Retroarch 1.8.7. As usual, there's way too much here for us to cover, but just some of the things that stand out, for example, is some bug fixes to NetPlay. There is a new desktop style playlist view mode for Material UI, and a whole host of other things. The 3DS version, by the way, now gets basic networking that's enabled. Anyway, as usual, when you're ready to update or start using it for the first time, make sure you come over to downloads, go to your preferred platform, and snag this latest revision. All right, and lastly, before we get to our top 10 list, here are a couple of miscellaneous mentions. They're just a couple of updates. First, to the Universal Media Server. We've already talked about this in the past before, but very quickly, UMS is a media server capable of serving videos, audio, and image files to any DLNA capable device. There's a ton of devices that this works with. When you click on this latest release, which is 9.4.3, it tells you here what's been done in the update. Among other things, they've improved support for LG, Panasonic, and Sony TVs. More file types are supported. This uses less memory than before, and other stuff. You can download this latest update for whatever system you are using right from here. And then we have an update to DS for Windows. This is a program that's for your PC that allows you to very easily and seamlessly connect a PS4 controller to your PC. You can use it as a mouse, you can use it for gaming or whatever. It's very easy to set up, and I've been using it for years. You can check out all of the additions and changes and fixes that this latest update brings with it, and of course the files are right below. All right, and now it's on to our top 10 most pirated movies for the week. This is for the week ending May 17th, 2020. Let's start with our number 10 movie, which is Birds of Prey. Last week it was at number 5, so it drops 5 spots to number 10. However, Sonic the Hedgehog has dropped the most. It was at number 3, now it's at number 9. Onward makes its debut to this list at number 8. And by the way, I really like that movie. You don't have to have kids in order to enjoy it. Emma's at number 7. The Call of the Wild is also new to this list, and it comes in at number 6. Scoob, the latest Scooby-Doo movie, is new to this list as well, and it comes in at number 5. Bad Boys for Life holding its ground, staying at number 4. I think it's now the longest running movie on this list. Then Capone, the last movie to debut on this list, comes in at number 3. By the way, it also has the lowest IMDb rating here by a considerable margin. It's at 5.0. Then Extraction, also holding its ground, solid at number 2. And once again, for the second week in a row, Justice League Dark Apocalypse War is at number 1. The highest rated movies on this list, at least the top 3 according to IMDb, Justice League Dark is at 8.1. Then we have Onward at 7.5 and Bad Boys for Life at 7.1. And then there's a few others that come really close. Extraction at 6.9, and then a couple of others with a 6.8, Call of the Wild and Emma. Alright guys, and that's going to do it for this episode. You know I appreciate you watching. Don't forget part 2 will be tomorrow. We will cover the Nintendo systems, maybe some leftover stuff from Emulation and miscellaneous mentions that we didn't get a chance to cover here. If you found anything informative, useful, helpful, or just entertaining, or you just want to throw some love or appreciation to the channel, you know that the best way to absolutely do any of that stuff is just to hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe too if you haven't already. Much love going out to everyone. Be careful, be safe, but have fun, and we'll see you on the next one.